Hello, my name is Lizzie Glendinning and this is Jack Bullen, and we run Woolwich Contemporary Print Fair. We're really delighted to be joined by Jeany Cronk, who's the co-founder of Mirabeau, Provence, and tonight she's going to take us through some of their products and along with trying some of their delicious wine and fizz and gin, we're going to talk about her sort of inspirations behind the brand and her support of new and emerging contemporary artists. So hi Jeany, welcome.
Hi Jeany.
Hi guys, so nice to be with you. Thank you so much for having me again.
Really, well, as everyone or people that have been to the fair will know that we've worked with you for quite a while. We're sort of long-term friends and collaborators, and this year we launched the Studio Mirabeau, which was it's a project looking at how Mirabeau work with artists and design-led companies to support and champion emerging artists. So we'll talk about this more, but you're going to introduce three of your products: the Mirabeau Classic, the La Folie, and the Rosé gin, which we have really handy pre-mixed tins from Waitrose. And you're going to take us through maybe the perfect serve or the notes and the inspiration behind that.
Absolutely. So can I just say that, we obviously have known you guys for some years and have worked together for some years, and we're just so incredibly proud of what you two have achieved. So and it's a real sort of, it's an affair of the heart for us to kind of to be a part of you, and obviously we were, sort of mentally with you during this sort of really tough time that we've had, and obviously where you've had to miss a fair as well. So so we're so happy that you're back, with people, and that you can show off this amazing project that you have, which has helped so many people get access to great art, to art that you can hopefully afford. And also for me, because I'm obviously really, most of my time I spend in a tiny village in Provence, so I'm also not constantly out and about being able to sort of access great art. So it has been so nice to see just the regular communications coming in from you, showcasing some quite established artists and then young artists and artists I'd never heard of or seen before and that I would normally not see. So thank you so much for doing that. And we're really, really proud to be a partner of you, and we know you're going to go really, really fast. So it's amazing. So yeah, let me quickly, really, really happy to introduce some of my products. So you've got the Mirabeau Classic, which is, was our first product ever. So we've been making this for 11 years now. It was the only one we had for quite a few years. Now we've got a much bigger range, all of pink, rosé, beautiful products from Provence. And Classic is a lovely sort of, fruit-forward rosé wine. So I don't know if you want to pour a little glass for Jack, because I think you're obviously just going to smell.
Is that mine? And then you're going to do, why don't you just do a small one?
I'd like to have a sniff.
Have a sniff, exactly. So you can see here, it's a lovely sort of, palish pink, a little bit salmon-y color, which is very typical for the wines from this particular region, Provence, right at the south of France. And what you should get with this particular cuvee, the Mirabeau Classic, is, a really lush and lovely nose of red summer fruit. So, you should get a bit of sort of summer pudding, I guess, is the equivalent dessert. And it should be really, really round and pretty, basically. So give it a swirl, always let some air in. So because the air helps you, smell all those amazing aromatic molecules. And then you should get a lovely nose of fruit and probably some sort of citrusy aromas as well, which is again typical of our region. It's got this lovely sort of this lovely fresh balance to all the rosé wines, and they're completely dry. So I'm going to give it a little taste. So excuse me, I have to spit since I have to work. So yeah, so you should get a really sort of beautiful mouth of raspberry, strawberries, and then followed by citrus fruits, so lemon, lime, just a really nice sort of fresh kick towards the end of the palate, which means it's a wine that super food friendly, great for aperitifs, you know, super versatile. You can drink it summer, winter. You know, we drink it here in Provence all year round. It's often a question that people have. You want to chill it, but not over chill it. So sort of 10 degrees is ideal. And then just enjoy it with food. It's a super versatile wine. What do you guys think?
It's good that you've said that it's a year-round wine, because often I think people associate rosé with summer. That might be just because of the beautiful places that it comes from, like Provence, and you just have that in mind, holiday season. But yeah, you're right. I mean, we've enjoyed it.
We have all year round. So,
I mean, what do you look for? What do Mirabeau look for when it comes to a good rosé?
Well, we work, you know, incredibly hard to get, you know, the best quality wines and to bring you the best quality wines from this region. So, you know, we spend a lot of time basically, you know, selecting which wines go into any of our cuvées. And then we have a massive session, which is in French is called assemblage, where we basically, you know, literally translated as assembling the wine, which is basically where you're like in a perfume house situation. You find the pieces that go together really well and that give the wine this incredibly lovely sort of at the same time fruity, as you know, slightly acidic, you know, a really balanced character. You can't really do that, you know, if you take it just from one corner of your field, you know, you're going to get a really imbalanced wine normally, especially with rosés. And we here in Provence, we work on blends. All our wines are blends of several great varieties, and so you really look to find the right pieces, and that's a big part of Mirabeau's work, is that sort of research for the best wines and then to put them together in a really cool way.
Amazing.
And sorry, can I just ask, with the sort of fires and so on, you've been having the terrible devastation you've just had. How do you sort of with the assemblage sort of continue the taste throughout the different years, or with sort of certain disasters like that happening? How does that work?
Yeah, so we work with grower partners throughout Provence. So we have access, luckily, to a lot of different sort of, I would say, sub-regions within the Provence region. So we can somewhat, you know, you can never completely cancel out a disastrous harvest, but we can work around issues such as this, that potentially, you know, if you had just the one field to draw from, you couldn't. So we can guarantee sort of, you know, a really nice quality year on year, which is exactly what our customers expect. And they also expect a certain style from us. So you can liken it a little bit to champagne. I mean, people have usually the champagnes they love the best, or they have 2 or 3 that they favor. And they have a certain expectation in terms of, this is my champagne and this is what I like it to taste like. And in rosé wines, we treat it in a quite similar way. So we blend to a style. So the classic style, well, whilst it's not exactly the same, because it can never be exactly the same, but you would recognize it year on year as a, you know, as a fruit forward wine, as a lush wine, as a sort of really kind of tasty wine. And that is something that with the way we work, we can basically, you know, we can work really hard to make it consistent in a nice way year on year. So you don't have a nasty surprise of something that tastes completely different to what you're expecting, or good quality one year, bad quality another year. That's not really what happens to us, and that's what we work really hard to avoid. So the fires were, you know, we were personally very impacted, but it was in a particular, quite a well-defined particular area of Provence where there weren't actually that many vineyards. So you know, the rest of Provence is alive and well, and we can work with, you know, we work with other partners in order to make sure the wine is completely perfect, as you would expect every year.
Amazing. And I guess that would lead us on to sort of thinking about the collaborative nature, bringing together all these vineyards, and what is it about aligning yourself with sort of creative brands, say fine art brands or design-led brands, that feels right for Mirabeau?
Well, it's just such a lovely thing to do for me personally. You know, I'm sort of, I guess I'm CCO here. I'm the chief creative person in the business. So I've been lucky enough to be able to work, you know, in a creative way with, you know, several people who I work with for many years. And it, you know, apart from the fact that wine and art, you know, just go together like a sort of horse and carriage, I guess. It's been, it's something that is really fulfilling for me personally. You know, I think people look to our products, you know, look for creativity in our products. It is quite particular to Rosé. We're quite, I would say we're quite audacious usually with our packaging in this region. You know, and people look to us for creativity. And it was something that, you know, I was only too glad to respond to that wish to have, you know, a really beautiful and creative packaging to go with those sort of wines that you buy so much with the eye, because they're this beautiful sort of pale pink. And you just think, you know, you can't help but be drawn to it. So to be able to create packaging that goes with this has been just an immense pleasure. And then on the, you know, on the collaboration front, we obviously love working with, you know, with either companies that have a similar ethos or really with artists themselves. We've just done a little collaboration for the launch of the gin, which I'll present to you in a second. But that is also with an artist, that is with a French-Japanese artist, and we've made a little silk twilly. So these sort of projects are just great.
They're beautiful, and obviously that was this MT Art Agency with Marie.
That's right. That's right. He's a friend and a partner, so we're just delighted to be able to work with people like you who bring so much to people. So it's a real joy.
And I think when we initially chatted about partnering all those years ago, we discussed actually like the idea that Rosé was sort of like an up and coming, you know, as a type of wine, you know, it was really on the rise and getting much more interest, as opposed to historically it had sort of been sort of not really thought about. And the same with print. There was sort of a medium that had always sort of been sort of, those in the know sort of collected prints quite avidly, but it hadn't really sort of hit mainstream as much as it is now, and people are becoming much more aware of prints and enjoying that as much, both are much more accessible and versatile.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. And we've seen, I mean, in wine, and I think that's, I think it's a general tendency we've seen in wine that people prefer to buy less and buy better. And I think that is something that probably you'll find, you know, that you know, whilst we're all on a certain budget for art, you know, it means that you can give people the opportunity to actually own these, you know, these unique artworks. And instead of buying, you know, something where you know there's going to be thousands of it all over the world, you save up a bit and you buy yourself something that is you know, much more limited and is really meaningful. So I think that's, you know, that, you know, we really appreciate that. And also I guess, you know, it's again, it's something that I think plays to your strength, is that people really want to buy things that last the test of time. And that's also, I would say, for us, even though wine is obviously, and especially rosé wine, is made to be drunk, you know, and it's often made to be drunk quite young. So you're not meant to collect it for many years. But you know, there is this sort of idea that as a brand, we would like to create a brand that has some longevity, and that is not a brand that's just a sort of, you know, flash in the pan and is here and then moves on to the next thing. You know, we're trying to do what we do really, really well and try and also stick to what we're good at. So I think, you know, both of those sort of, you know, ideas and values, I think, work really well together. And, you know, and I'm so happy that what you do gets so much attention.
It's interesting what you say about the collecting there, because that's what we always try and say to people when they're buying prints, is that you should, you know, collect and, you know, as an investment and things like this, but it should always be for enjoyment. You know, you should always have that print on the wall that you love looking at, you know, and so when you were saying with Rosé, you know, yes, it's not, it needs to be drunk and enjoyed, and that's the whole thing. I think it's enjoyment is key to both things.
Yeah, absolutely. No, you're so right. Should we try
Folie?
La Folie.
Yeah. So while Jack opens the La Folie, I guess that leads me on to sort of talk about the experience and the synergy with both wine and art and the evolution of them together, and these similarities you can draw between the two. So La Folie, from our part, anyone that comes to the fair will probably enjoy a glass of La Folie, and it's very much a staple in our house. Jeany, how? Well, no, just
hold on. Let me pour myself a glass as well.
So we only had coupes to hand. How would you usually prefer people to serve this? In a champagne flute? Or...
Oh goodness, it is completely up to you. I mean, I'm a complete sucker for a beautiful coupe. I think that is, you know, but I love, you know, I love the old, you know, the old-fashioned swimming pool, you know, coupes, or you know, I mean, if you were a purist, you'd probably even serve it in a sort of, you know, in a high wine glass, because that, you know, sparkling wine, like all wine, has beautiful nose. So, but you know, again, La Folie is a wine, a sparkling wine that's meant to be enjoyed. It's at a, you know, at a nice accessible price point as well for the quality. So we are generally, as a brand, you know, we love people to actually consume it how they like it. You know, if we can inspire them to do something that's maybe different to what they would normally do, that's great. But, you know, we don't really enjoy being prescriptive like that. We think people, you know, make their moments, and if you have a, you know, if you have a paper cup to hand and that's all, then, and that is a nice moment, then you have to, you know, I'm super happy for you to do that. So, so yeah.
So what are we looking for here?
So here you're looking, what's really nice is you're looking for a gentle stream of bubbles. So you're not looking for, you know, huge big bubbles that you would get in your sort of usual soft drinks. This is because it's, you know, it's fermented, and not in bottle like champagne. It's fermented in double fermented in a tank. Right. But it is really nice and gives you those sort of really nice sort of soft stream and nicely integrated small bubbles, which makes it so much nicer to drink than the sort of, you know, the big ones that sort of, you know, dance around on your tongue. Again, you would look for quite a similar style in a way to the still wine. You'd look for something really quite nice and beautiful and fruity, but with a nice grapefruit kick you'd get here, and also a little hint of exotic, because there's a little bit of a grape variety in here called Colomba that adds a little bit of a sort of pineapple lychee kind of touch, but you want to keep that really, really small in the blend, because otherwise it becomes sort of cloying and over the top. So just but a tiny hint of it is really nice. And again, it's relatively dry by sparkling wine standards. I swallowed that by mistake, and it was really nice.
If we're celebrating, I wondered if we could talk about just a couple of your top picks, collector choices that you made this year. For anyone that's watching, Jeany has put forward her top picks for this year's fair, and they're available on our highlights bar on the Instagram and also on our website. But if we talked about, for instance, I know both of you have chosen Becky Horton's work this year.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Different. I think mine's slightly different. One of her, because she's got 4 or 5 in the fair.
Yeah, but they're really beautiful, very subtle, but decorative as well. Yeah. What was it that you were looking for when you were looking for your, you know, collector picks? Well,
I always look for, you know, I love a bit of color. So sort of 4 out of the 5 that I picked have a sort of, you know, have a splash of color. I mean, I love, you know, I guess this is my sort of universe, but I love pinks, reds, you know, rusty colors. You know, the golden colors that we had in Becky's picture, which was just so nice, because we have actually these just amazing golden hours at the domain where everything looks just like it's been, you know, gold has been poured over the vines and the house, and sort of everybody sits outside and just sort of takes it all in. And so that really sort of reminded me of that, you know, that feeling when we're there and we just have these sort of, you know, it doesn't last long. It's only about 40 minutes or so where the outside world suddenly takes on that golden hue. But that was a beautiful, beautiful print, and I'm hoping to own it. So I hope I can buy it, because I think it would just go so well at the Domain. And I'm trying, obviously, always budgets permitting, but to add art to the Domain all the time. So I think that would be a really beautiful piece to own for us. And then, I think, it's a bit of a recurrent theme in my selections, I'm afraid, but, because I guess we are in such a natural place, where nature is just so stunning and has all these different expressions. I end up picking a lot of pictures that have trees or flowers or leaves or, in them. But the case this year again, I would say. But I love the Dancing Daydreamer as well, because I love the female form, and I think it's a really joyous picture, and it's pink, and I thought it was really, really stunning.
And Jeany Cronk is the spirit of the three-piece pint. It was really fun. There was a female there. There was the horse there that was quite really celebratory as well.
Yeah, it's a fun piece. That
I mean, what was it about Becky Horton's that you liked?
Well, I was just laughing because Jeany's described her outdoors, which is all golden and sun, and my one's actually called Downpour. So, which is what's happening outside here at the moment. So, maybe different locations, the North Pennines and Provence, maybe is reflecting slightly differently on it. But, yeah, I think of hers, it was just there was just a calmness, the subtlety of the mark making, the play with the colours within that. I just think it was really stunning.
Should we move on to the final product?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Last second.
So here's my Jeany. Okay, shall I show you what I found? Well, I got sent this, and I'm just madly in love with it.
Yeah.
Look at that Tonic.
Wow.
Is that cool or what?
That's gorgeous. So, and does it work well with the gin?
So stunning. So yes, it does actually. This one is a pink citrus tonic, which is actually, it'll bring out even more what we have in the gin, because we have. Sorry, I currently can't get the top off probably. We've got in the gin, which is obviously a rosé color. It's a very pale picture. But the hero botanical is the lemon of Menton. So Menton being, that beautiful coastal town that you've seen on 1,000 Instagram pictures. And so we've got, it is quite a citrus forward, dry gin.
Yeah.
But we've got some other such stunning other kind of, more floral elements in it. But this tonic, would work really well to bring out more of the citrus. So I don't know if you've had a little sniff, Liz, you're I think probably allowed. Yeah. You've got this, which is a very good, we worked really, really hard during lockdown to actually get the taste of a gin and tonic from, to make it into a canned version, because it's not that easy. But it was a long project, and I think we did really well. So, but this is the original.
Should we? Is there a particular citrus fruit or that we should be adding?
Well, again, that's a little bit personal preference. I mean, I love a grapefruit because it adds an extra citrus.
We've got ready with all the different types.
Have you? And it's just so pretty, right? You can't help but, a big slice of pink grapefruit just looks so brilliant in any glass. And then I don't know if we don't always have it to hand, of course, because we've got lots of rosemary growing outside here on every street corner. But that is quite a nice swizzle stick if you like that idea, because it's completely natural. You don't have those awful plastic ones, which I hope they've been banned in the meantime anyway.
Absolutely.
Okay, you can make a Negroni with it too, because it is a proper gin. So it doesn't have the sort of, it's not a sort of, often pink gins, are really sugary and sort of almost, I guess, liqueur kind of type products, whereas this is a proper dry gin, and you've got all of the botanicals that you would typically, find here on a walk out and about. So you've got, rosemary, thyme, bay leaf, but also rose petals, lavender, jasmine, all of those sort of floral botanicals are put in a really nice and delicate way, because you don't want them, overpowering the actual taste of juniper, which is still, this is a juniper forward gin. So, I mean, you're drinking it, Jack, and I think whilst it's very attractive to females because the bottle is beautiful and it's just, a pretty thing, but it is a proper gin, and men do tend to really like it. So yeah, go for it.
I love the softness to it, because it's so got it's sharp, but it's not too, it sort of doesn't. Yes, just very nice and smooth.
You haven't been a fan of other brands of pink gin because of the sweetness. And
I always think
the
pink gins because they are just so sugary and sweet, but that's
this
lovely and dry.
I remember trying at an event in our 2019 event. You showcased it to a group of people, and we all had a tasting, and it was just wonderful, I think. So I was going to go back to the sort of decorative nature of the bottle and the design elements that come into it. I can see it's got elements of Art Deco and sort of perfumery, and I wondered how this came about, and also how the subtleties of design generally are integrated or reflected within the qualities of the product, the drinkable product.
Yeah, so what's interesting here is that we were inspired, I was inspired by lots of things, but the Art Deco architecture that you guys know well from the Côte d'Azur, the sort of real glamour days of the Côte, and you've got these iconic sort of buildings, on the Croisette in Cannes or in Nice, so the fact that you've got the sort of, I guess the pillars that are so classic on all these buildings, I've integrated them into the bottle, and that gives it just such a lovely sort of structured, and tactile surface. So people always, what I find with this one, people always want to touch it, and it's.
Sorry, that's also interesting, because in the cans you've done the same, where they feel fantastic with the sort of the ribs following exactly what we've done in the bottle.
Yeah, so we've made there's a little tactile varnish on there that basically tries to give that sort of 3D effect that we have on the bottle. So can't quite rival glass, but we did the best we could. So you've got, and also I guess what you've got here is something that resembles a perfume bottle, and as most of you know, but Grasse, is just sort of behind, behind the coast here, and that's really the sort of, the ancient capital of perfumery. And there are all these beautiful old flacons there that you can look at, and still very successful big perfume houses who produce for the likes of Dior and many others. So it is still a really vibrant industry. And obviously some of the botanicals that you find would be classically used in perfumery as well. So we thought it was a really nice interplay of these sort of, that history and that heritage. And then you've got sort of little touches like, you guys would know that, because I think you've got one in your house or in your family house, this oval window, which is called the Eau de Boeuf, which is really a classic sort of touch that you get on many old nice houses here on the side. I've built one into mine, so I put the logo into that Eau de Boeuf here on the shoulder of the bottle. And then we've got sort of mosaic tiles, because again we've got a lot of mosaics in the beautiful buildings around the Côte d'Azur, but we're also, and that you will see on the label, just if you move the bottle a little bit, you can see that I've also integrated the classic tiles of Provence, the Tomette, the tiles that I actually produce mostly in the neighboring village to ours here. So I've tried to sort of integrate lots of little touches that you would, pretend. I hope you see the overall effect in any case. but to bring as much history and as much heritage into this bottle as we could.
Amazing. And you talk about building in the into your home and into your domain certain aspects and bringing things in. I wondered if you could tell us a little bit about your favourite purchases from the fair in the past that you brought into the domain, such as Anamaro, for instance, and how they fitted into the Mirabeau domain and the sort of lifestyle that you're trying to create there.
Yeah, so I bought two a couple of years ago, and the Anamaro is just such a joyous picture. So it just shows you know, some swimmers in sort of, you know, I guess 30s as well. You know, it was felt very much the same period as the sort of glamour days of the Côte d'Azur, diving into a pool of pink. So it just felt like such a great, it was such a great metaphor for so many things, but also for, you know, I guess for Stephen and I, you know, when we sort of made the big jump and sort of dived into this kind of world of pink that we, you know, we were so keen to pursue this career, but we didn't really have an enormous amount of experience. We didn't really speak any French. So it did feel like this kind of, you know, we were a couple of chances who arrived here 12 years ago and just tried to make it work. So we thought it, you know, aside from the fact that color-wise, and it's very uplifting piece, which we always love, but it also was a nice sort of, a nice little metaphor for our own story. And then I bought, the beautiful print of palm trees by Fiona. You need to remind me the surname now.
Yeah.
Which I hung a sort of pride of place behind our drinks table, which is very important, in the living room of the domain. And I mean, you know, you would know, Lizzie, because we always get lots of questions when we do post it on Instagram, for example, but also people who come to the domain, just, you know, because it's on a sort of, I would say, a beige, natural, sort of very natural feeling background, and then this dark sort of palm trees that are just look amazing and just jump out at you, but work so well with our sort of old and historic building as well, because we obviously had to fit it within a sort of, you know, a Bastide, an old Provençal farmhouse. They're really cool, just absolutely love it. So yeah, so I'm hoping to add to those guys this year.
And I wanted to ask an interiors question, because your interiors at the domain have been featured across a few platforms now, and obviously are being celebrated for the sort of mixing of your styles and blending of art and interiors. And obviously in 2019 we did the collaboration with Lisa Dawson, who starred our pink space for Mirabeau, for Mirabeau, and we brought in lots of design elements, art elements, and obviously the wine, and created an experience that people could sort of, you know, enjoy wine within this gorgeous space. How important is that in sort of replicating that within the designs in the domain?
Well, listen, I mean, we went at it at the domain very much with, you know, a building, an existing building that, you know, that also, I guess, had a fair amount of existing features, and we came at it wanting to keep as much as we could, because we have, you know, a sort of, you know, we quite like reusing as much as possible. So it was, you know, also about finding pieces that would fit with, you know, what was already there. You know, as you guys know well, we're very lucky to have the Galerie de Cotignac here in our village, and that's an English couple who've just got a sort of stunning and eclectic mix of expensive, not so expensive, and just decorative art. So they helped me quite a bit with, you know, some of the original art that I bought, and then I have personally a very long-standing relationship with the two, you know, big artists of our village, because our village is actually quite artistic. One of them has died sadly last year, Jean Arène, and then there is another artist called Avril, who's still living at 96, I think, and also makes some amazing art pieces, and is still painting. So the domain is basically, you know, I've tried to hang an original piece into every room, And then to have a really beautiful mix of, you know, some sculptures, some of your pieces, and some things that I've found at a flea market, basically. So it's an eclectic mix, much as you would find at home. And I think that's really what attracts people to the place as well. It doesn't feel like a sort of confected, you know, place that, or as is the case sometimes. I know that some people, you know, for their places sort of buy whole rooms, including all the paintings, and you know, and we've sort of, you know, and we're not at the end, of course, because we've only owned the domain for a few years. So we want to keep on adding to it, but we've made a really good start.
Brilliant. And talking about that, sort of kind of reusing and sort of sustainable design. Finally, just before we say goodbye, I wanted just to ask a bit about the future of Mirabeau, and sustainability is quite important to the brand, and how you're sourcing the vines, the grapes, and things like that. Could you give us a little background into your sort of journey towards being a more sustainable brand?
Yeah, so something that's occupied us enormously, and I guess one of the upsides, or one of the few upsides of having had repeated lockdowns, is that we've been able to actually do a lot of work on becoming a more sustainable brand, because it's, you know, it's close to our hearts anyway. So we had a great opportunity to dig down and kick off some you know, some important projects. One of which is that we're in the process of certifying for B Corp. So that is, you know, become, you know, hopefully a part of, you know, it's still quite a small stable of businesses that sort of worry, you know, other than actually being profitable, that you worry about your people and you worry about the planet. So, and that you actually try and inform yourself whenever you make a decision, because as is the case with a lot of businesses, you know, it's often a balance between, you know, something that looks great and feels great versus something that is truly sustainable. So we've really tried to go as far as we can with our products, and to constantly ask ourselves again, what can we do? You know, can we use lighter glass, for example? Can we package something in a can, which we've done? You know, cans are more recyclable. Aluminium's almost infinitely recyclable. And we're sort of on a big project, reviewing all our things, trying to go to the, you know, to the least damaging packaging. Damaging is a horrible word, but the least impactful packaging in terms of the planet, while being visually beautiful and still our product being sort of, you know, nicely presented. And then at the domain, we farm regeneratively. So on our own vineyard, we've been able to push the envelope quite a lot further, which is great. And we're hoping to inspire lots of people around us.
Brilliant. That's really inspiring and really exciting.
Yeah, it is.
Jeany, I think we should probably say goodbye and thank you.
Yes, thank you very much for your time.
For everyone watching, please keep an eye out for more projects and more collaborations with our Studio Mirabeau and Woolwich Contemporary collaboration, which will involve a lot of emerging artists, maybe some studio visits, and exciting things going forward through 2022. So Jeany, thank you so much for joining us. Jack's going to have to finish all this today himself.
Lucky me.
Now I'll finish the grapefruit. So take care. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, and best of luck for the fair.